Right, good morning everyone, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. As you can probably tell by the title of this video, I am not best pleased with this Mini that I'm currently sitting in. It's been for the MOT twice now, and both times it has failed. Now, he looked it over and found another issue, didn't bother going through the whole test, gave me a call and just said, look, it ain't gonna pass like this, do you wanna just take it away, get it properly done, and then bring it back to me once it is completely finished. Now, let me explain what it has failed on for the second time. It's not something that it failed on previously. Both of the things that were on the first MOT when it failed the first time are now fixed. They didn't come up on the MOT the second time. The rear brakes now work. They are both in sync. And so my fix of the caliper and doing all the brakes and stuff was a success. That didn't come up anymore. They said that the brakes worked perfectly. Now the second thing was the brake line, which I actually took the car to the garage to get the brake line done. I wasn't up for doing it on the floor on jack stands. It wasn't going to be much fun. It cost £80 to get it done, and it's the line that runs all the way from the front all the way to the back. I'll give you a better look at it when I get under the car in a minute so you can see sort of where it runs and how difficult it would have been for me to do it on the floor. Those right there were the two things that this car actually failed its MOT on. With those both fixed and neither of those things came up anymore, it decided to raise another problem which has actually sort of been caused by one of the previous problems. Now let me quickly explain. As you know, I changed the pads, the discs and both calipers on the rear. The passenger side one, the reason I changed it was because it was seized. Now, because it was seized, that means that the handbrake wasn't really working on this side. The brakes weren't working and the handbrake weren't working on the passenger side. So that means that the driver's side has been doing all of the braking on the rear and all of the hand braking on the rear as well, which has caused this handbrake, this side, to stretch more than the one on the passenger side. So this one's longer than that one, which means that now that both the calipers work, this caliper is not actually holding the handbrake as much as this side is. It's a little bit confusing, but I hope you guys follow along with that. So basically one side of the handbrake is not working as well as the other because the caliper that was seized has caused this side cable to stretch because it was doing all the work for probably at least a year. So what I have to do now is I have to change both handbrake cables. I've gone ahead and already bought them. I picked them up on eBay, got them done for next day delivery. They arrived yesterday. Today is now Saturday and this car is going in for a retest on Monday. So today's plan of action is to get the handbrake cables changed out on this car. I'm doing both sides. I'm not just going to do one because that's still going to mess up one being longer than the other. So I'm going to do both sides, get them done, take it in for a retest on Monday, and hopefully then this thing will pass. It's kind of annoying that it's come up, but it's one of those things. I should have probably thought about it when I was doing the calipers, but it just didn't cross my mind at the time. So come with me whilst we change the handbrake cables, and then at the end of this video I will add in the footage of taking it to the garage and fingers crossed getting it to pass. I really don't want to be bringing this thing home a third time. I think I'll end up driving it off a cliff if I have to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing today. I'll also show you the brake pipe underneath, the brand new one. It does look nice. They've done a pretty good job of it. I've already jacked the car up, it's already up in the air. I'm just got to get the wheels off, remove the old handbrakes, put the new ones in, and that'll be the job done. It should be pretty straightforward and pretty simple in this Mini. Well, let's get started. So laid out on my workbench is all the things that I think I'm going to need today. These are the handbrake cables right here. I've got obviously both sides. They are different for either side, so I'm going to have to work out which one's which. Lock and wheel nut, gloves, and then a few sets of pliers, a couple of 10mm, and that should be all we need, I think, to get this job done. Right, so this is right here what we did in the last video. Ignore all the water, it rained crazily heavy and then they've already rusted up, but that'll soon come off once they actually be used. If you haven't already watched the video where I did all this, which was the last video, highly recommend you do. Everything that I do in this video will probably make a lot more sense if you saw me install all this. Now, the handbrake cables obviously go onto the back of the caliper, which is right here, and they run up just to there, and that's where they bolt onto a bracket. There's a little 10mm bolt that I have to undo right there. That's where they bolt on with the bracket, and then they go up inside there under this heat shield and then into the car somewhere right up that end, and then you have to undo them from the inside of the car as well. Now it's obviously exactly the same on the other side. Goes up, bolts on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get them out of the caliper here, which is nice and easy. I've got a little clip to remove just there. Yours might not have a clip because I don't think they're supposed to have one from factory, but I put one on anyway. Little C clip. And then you literally just lever this bit down like so, pull this out, and then they just pull out the bottom, and that's that disconnect from here. And then we'll move on to the 10mm bolt that's holding that bracket on up there. Just probably use a spanner to take that off, and then we'll deal with the cables where they go into the car after that. So as I said, there's a little clip on here to remove, but there won't be one on yours if you're doing this yourself. These can be a right pain to get out. They were a pain last time even. I did grease them up, but that's done nothing. There we go. Right, well both the cables are removed from the actual calipers, done both sides. I'm going to try and undo those 10mm bolts. I'll try and show you me doing them, but they're pretty hidden up under the subframe. You can just about see it from here. It's right, it's that bracket right there, and the 10mm bolt is on the bottom of it. So like with everything on this car so far, the bolts of course were rusty as everything else is. I have managed to hammer on a 10mm socket. Right, where is it? Right there. Hammered that on, and there's an extension sort of going over the subframe, which I'm going to try and get a socket on. That's probably the best way of undoing this. I'm going to put the camera down there. More hands the better. I think we're undoing. Feels like it is. You can see she's a bit crusty. That'll clean up alright though. So that should now, bracket should be off, which it is. Well, I've got to do the other one now, wish me luck. Right, that's that side through as well. Right, so now that I've got those brackets undone, that's a good start. The cable, as I showed, now runs up through there, along the heat shield, and you can just about see, you can actually see the new brake line as well, I'll show you that in a minute, but you can just about see up in there where it goes into the car. Can you see that at the end there? That's where it pushes through into the car, and that's where we're going to have to get to in a minute. Now I will just show you this brake line whilst I remember. So the brake line goes from here, can you see that copper pipe? Goes from this rear beam up there. So that would be tricky to get up in there, you know. Goes up there, around the tank, around here, up over the heat shield, and then comes around, down, and all the way to the front of the car. So all the way to pretty much as far as you can see. So as you can see, it would have been a real pain to try and get that brake pipe up over the exhaust, over the heat shield, up next to the tank, whilst you're on the ground like this. It made so much more sense to get the garage to do it whilst they've got a hoist. Brake pipes are not much fun to do on the ground with jack stands like this, so it was worth every penny of that £80, I promise. So what I think the next plan is I think the next thing to do is to drop this heat shield. I don't have to remove it completely, but I am just going to undo the bolts that mount it. There's two up this end. There's one 10mm there. I think there's one the other side. Oh, right there. One 10mm there. And then there's two the other end. There's one right there, and then one the other side right there. They don't actually look like they're particularly holding it very well. That one's not. But I'll undo them, and then I'll drop this down a little bit just so we can get our hands up and around, get to the cable around the back. Of course that just rolled away, didn't it? It's rolled blooming all the way down there. Right, that should be enough. Something else holding it? No. Right, so we're now going to make our way
to the interior of the Mini, because I know that under this center console here is where the handbrake cables join, somewhere under this cup holder here. Now I've already been in here yesterday just to make sure that I knew how this is going to come off. You just move the handbrake gaiter out of the way. This one's broken anyway, so not that bothered about that. And then this thing just clips in. I did remove this one screw here, which is just under the gaiter. It's just like a Phillips screw. I think you have to take that off, not entirely sure, but I took it off anyway. And then this whole thing just clips in, so you just have to give it a good old tug, and it'll pull up and out the way. I kind of want to remove it completely, really, but right, let's get this fully off, shall we? I think there's a wire plugged on it, that's why, for the little button here. Right, there we go, out the way. Right, now underneath the center console there's another piece of plastic trim that you need to get off. This piece right here, it's held on by what looks like 4 10mm bolts. There's one here, one the other side, and then 2 at the back, one here and one here. So I'm going to quickly remove them, and this thing should lift off. I think you might have to remove this handbrake wiring as well. This just tells the car, although it pulled out nice and easily. That wiring is just going to be removed, and then this whole plate should come out once we remove those 4 bolts. Then underneath that piece of trim, underneath the carpet, if you take this out of the way, and then take this piece of foam out of the way, right here, there is the prize. That is where the cables come into the car. You can see, got the left one, the right one, and then they just go into this piece here, which is like a compensator, I think it's called, which just compensates if one is a little bit long than the other, but ours are just too long. And they're held in by these little metal clips, spring clips, that go on them right there. If you can see that. Come on, camera. They sort of just spring out and hold the cable inside, so you just have to squeeze all those little metal pieces, and then it'll push out the other side. And then there's a nut on the handbrake to undo, which is the adjuster nut right here. I think that's a 13mm or something like that. We're going to take that off all the way, and then once we get our new cables in, we can put the nut on and adjust the handbrake accordingly. And these things should come out of here quite nice and easily, really. Once we've got this screw undone, they just pop out of the little piece right there. You can see the hole for it. Nice and easy. I just had real trouble getting my nut off on this compensator. Someone had wound it down so much that it went right to the end, and it was like stuck right at the bottom of this thread. So I had to get the old draper out to get it off, and some locking pliers as well on the end. But it's off. That nut is now right on the end, so I've got maximum length. Let's just get rid of all my power tools and that. Right, so I've taken the cable out of this end. These balls literally just push up and then come out. You can sort of see how that works, can't you? Nice and easy. And that is them out. Now I just need to push down on those little metal tabs and push the cable out of the car, and then I can pull them out from under the car and then push the new ones in. Right, so I managed to get these little clips off the end of the thing. It's really hard to film in there. I can't even get a camera in there, but this is what they look like. They sort of sit on the end of the cable like that, and these little pieces just sort of flare out and they stop the cable from going through. So it's quite a simple design. I don't know if the new cables have got new ones or not, so I'm going to keep hold of these just for the time being. I would have thought they come with new ones because that makes sense, but I'll keep hold of them in case I've got to reuse them. But now, with everything disconnected inside the car, as you can see, these things are ready to pull out from underneath. You can see they push through quite easily. They're just mounted a couple more places underneath the car, which I need to dismount, and then they should be able to just pull them out. Alright, so like I showed you before, the cables are actually running along there, and they're mounted in these little plastic clips that just run under the body of the car. I think there's 2 of them, one here and then one just there. So I'm going to use a pry bar and just pry it down. And that should be the cable completely free with any luck. Apologise for the camera work, I'm just trying to... Alright, there we go. That is the end there that was inside the car, and that is the whole length of it right there. Right, so new cables are out. I've laid them out next to the old ones. I've laid them out so that if you're looking at the back of the car, this one's the passenger side, this one's the driver's side. Same with these, this one's the passenger side, this one's the driver's side. They are different, only very slightly. Now they're the same shape and everything like that. The only thing that's different is the bracket on each of them. So the bracket on the left hand side, so the passenger side, is orientated like so, with this little nipple bit sticking upwards to the left. This one's got the little nipple bit sticking up to the right, and so I've laid these ones out the same. This one, little nipple bit sticking up on the left, little nipple bit stuck up on the right. If you flip it over, it sticks downwards, so you know that's not that one. So I've got them laid out next to each other. They don't actually look that bad. They're obviously, these ones are old, so they're a bit crusty and rusty and stuff like that, but they don't look awful. However, this one, which is the driver's side, which is the one that was actually acting up when they did the tests, is actually, looks like it's not that far from snapping. There's a bunch of like wires that have split here, and also whilst I was trying to manually operate the handbrake cable, that is like, that's me pushing and pulling my hardest, and that is proper stiff. This one on this side is not actually that bad. You see, that's me, two fingers, look, pushes in quite easily, and then this one, two fingers, I probably can't even do it. Just about. That's awful. Whereas the new ones are even better, obviously nice and greased up. Look how easy they go in and out. That's how it should be, like so. So this one, I'm not sure if it was stretched or whether it was just seized or both maybe, but they definitely need replacing. So out with the old and in with the new. This is the brand I went with. They're on eBay, Quinton Hazel. I've used their cables before, never had a problem with them, so they look pretty decent quality. So let's go ahead and get these things fitted back onto the Mini. So just to mention, the end that goes into the car, if you remember when I took them out, these ones had that little metal clip on. These ones have actually got a different design where they've got a little plastic clip. Don't know if I like that. I don't really like things being made of plastic, but there you go. I've got a feeling they're going to snap a bit easier than the other ones, but hopefully I won't have that problem. They should just push in. Right, so I've managed to feed the first cable up through the hole in the car. It wasn't easy, it was like fishing through a hole, but I'm hoping that if I can pull on this enough, I can get that little plastic clip down there to push in its place. It's really hard to film and do this at the same time, it's so fiddly. I nearly had it then. There we go, I think we're in. See that? It's just clipped in place. This is the right hand side one. So that's gonna go, can't do this one-handed. It's gonna go in there. Like so. Right, that's the first one in. Time to do the other side. So just to give you an idea as to what I'm doing, I've got my torch set up so I can see the hole, which is above the heat shield. You probably won't be able to see it on the camera. Oh, it's right there. See that daylight just coming through? So what I'm doing is I've got the cable and I've extended it as far as it'll go like that, and I'm literally just fishing for that hole, trying to get it through it, because it's not easy. I can't really do this and film, but I'm trying to fish it up in there. Once I've got it in, I'll go inside the car, pull it through, and then route it through where it's got to go on the outside. Right, so as you've just seen, I've got it located in the caliper, and the handbrake cable is in its mount right there. I've done the same to the other side. Didn't bother showing you it twice. The handbrake cable is now mounted as well. It's starting to rain. It's now mounted in place there. I've put that bolt in as well. Hang on, let me just show you. There you go. The bolt is in there. Same on the other side. And then the cable runs up, as you already know, up behind the heat shield and into the car. So I've now got the handbrake cables completely ran on both sides, all clipped in everywhere they need to be. The only thing I need to do is put the
the bolts back on the heat shield. There's a couple of 10mm that I took off, put them back on, and then also just sort out the center console inside the car, just put that back on. Should be quite quick and easy as well. Wheels back on, and this job will be done. I just also need to adjust the handbrake. That little nut that you saw me undo at the beginning of the video, just need to tighten that up so that the handbrake actually functions, because at the minute it's way too loose. So it's just started to rain as well. I don't know if you can see that. A bit just landed on the camera right there. It's now raining. It's such a change to yesterday. It was like 33 degrees yesterday, and now it's about 18 and raining. So the UK for you, that is. Right, so that's taken out the slack on that bolt, and the cable is now tight. It's really hard to show because it's dark in here because it's now raining. That is the handbrake cable all situated in the piece in the back there. It's fairly tight now, still a bit more slack I've got to take up, as you can see. Maybe a couple more turns on that bolt will do it. I'm going to stick the trim wheel back in here because I haven't got to go in here anymore, I don't think. I'm quite happy with how this looks. This interior center console piece, if you even want to call it that, is actually held in by these little black clips. See them there? There's supposed to be 6 of them. I've lost one here. Don't know where that's gone. But 3 of them in there. 3 of them are in there, so it should hold it in fairly tightly. I just need to plug this little plug in. If anyone knows what that does, I know it's got the traction control light on it, but is that how you turn it off and on? Is that what that's actually used for? It's not been used yet, but I've pressed it before and it hasn't actually done anything, so let me know what that does. I assume it just turns off and on traction control, but I'm not entirely sure. I've got the center console essentially pretty much back together now. Only thing I haven't done is just put the gator down yet, because I think I need to do a little bit of adjustment on the handbrake. Before I can do that fully, I'm just going to put the wheels back on the car. I'm going to go ahead and stick the wheels back on the car so that once I adjust it, I can try and spin the wheels with my hands and just see if the handbrake is actually functioning and see if it's actually working, because I look like a ghost then. The lighting out here is really bad, it's gone really dark. There you go. Once I get the wheels on, I can try and spin them and see if they actually are holding, see if the handbrake's actually holding the wheels still. That's probably the best way to test it. I've got no other way of testing it until it goes to the actual test centre, so that's as best I can do. So I'm going to get the wheels back on, and then we'll give it a quick little test, little manual test, just to make sure it's working. I've got about 4 clicks. About 5 actually. I think that's good enough. It's quite tight. Feels good. Right, so I've gone ahead and adjusted the handbrake. So about 4 clicks, maybe 5 if you're sort of the Hulk, but this is currently, I need to put the camera down for this. This is currently what the wheels look like if you try and spin them. I should have showed you really, but before I did the handbrakes, I actually span them, and this one span so easily with the handbrake up, I could literally just grab it and spin it. Where now, this is me trying my hardest. It's literally like rock solid, that's not going anywhere. And the other side is exactly the same, so I reckon that has fixed the issue with the handbrake. Kind of makes sense. The handbrake on that side was knackered, it barely moved, and I think it had stretched as well. So there you go, brand new cables as well. So this really has had a whole new rear brake setup. We've got calipers, cables, pads and discs on both sides, all done. So if this doesn't pass the MOT, as I said, if I don't pass the MOT, I'm going to drive off a cliff on the way home. Not with me in it, just the car. And just like that, we have another job done on the Mini's back brakes. Now I'm hoping that is the last thing we have to do to this car before it gets to an MOT. I did not mention a single other thing. It was just that the handbrake on one side didn't work as well as the other. 2 new handbrake cables, that should solve the issue. One of them was stretched and also seized, so that looks like that was definitely the issue. I'm hoping that when this goes in Monday morning that this is going to pass with flying colours. The only thing on the sheet should be that one advisory for the slight oil leak that we already know about, so keep your fingers crossed for me for Monday. I'm going to add in the end of this video the footage of whether it passes or whether it comes up with a completely new issue that it wants to give me. But with any luck, I'll be sitting here holding a MOT certificate to give this Mini another year of life on the road. Been a little bit of a saga so far. I hope you have learned something from these videos. Right, so I'm going to say it again. In the next clip, you should see me holding the MOT certificate for the Mini sometime on Monday with this car with a fresh MOT. So I'll see you guys then. Wish me luck. Right, I've just arrived at Swiftfit. You can see it just behind me in the window there, ready for the MOT. Oh, I can hear her. Here she comes. Okay, some time has passed. I even managed to have a haircut. And in front of me, I have the piece of paper that will determine whether this is going to be a good video, or whether this is going to be a bad video. And I can inform you that it is actually going to be a good video. We have a pass on the Mini. I am over the moon. It's been a week of to and fro, backwards and forwards, one problem, another problem, and finally the saga is over. It's actually been 7 days from the first time that I took the Mini in for its MOT. It was last Monday. It's Monday again today as I'm filming this, and we finally have a pass. Now, I just want to talk through a couple of things. Number one being money, because I know that some people might be interested in how much money I actually saved and was it worth it and all that stuff. So as you know, when I first took the car in, it failed its MOT on a brake pipe being excessively corroded, and also the brakes on the rear were out of balance. I then brought the car home. I did a whole video on fixing the things that it failed on. I actually got the garage to do the brake pipe, as you will have known, but I did most of the brake work myself, changed the calipers, the discs and the pads. Now, I put it back in for a retest and it failed once again. Now, it was kind of linked to the things that I had fixed. It caused something else to go wrong, and that was that the handbrake wasn't working well on the driver's side. Now, I knew why that was. You've seen in this video me fixing the handbrake itself, and so I then put it in for another retest. And luckily this time we passed. Now, some of you may want to know figures. I have written down on here how much it would have cost to get the work done at the garage, and also how much it actually costs for me to do the work. So I really quickly wanted to run through some numbers with you as well, just to give you an idea as to how much it cost for me to do the work, how much it would have cost roughly for the garage to do the work, and also time, because time is important to some people as well. Now, I've written down a little split list here, so I'm going to go through it with you, just explain a little bit about it. Right, I'm going to go through the costs of everything that we had to pay out for this car to be put through the MOT. So the MOT itself was £30. That wasn't too bad. We didn't have to pay for any retests or anything like that. The guys at Swiftfit were actually really nice in that the second time they failed it, they didn't actually put it down technically as a fail on the system. They just said, look, this ain't going to go through, take it away, do it again. So we did, and we managed to get it through on the retest, so it was free. So the MOT was £30 on its own. Now, the brake pipe we got done at the garage because, as you saw, it was a bit too much of a job for me to do on jack stands. I probably could have made it happen, and maybe I should have tried to do it, but however, I just got it done at the garage, and that was £80. That was all in. £80 was paid to the garage for that. So far we're on 110. Then we've got the calipers. As you know, I managed to source my own ones from eBay or ECR. Was that ECR brakes in Norwich? I managed to go and pick them up. £85 I paid for the pair, which I didn't think was too bad. I then picked up the pads and discs as well from Euro Car Parts, which together were £45. That was for the discs and the pads. And then I just bought some brake fluid as well for a £5 whilst I was there picking up the brake parts. And then once it failed the second time and came back to me, the handbrake cables were actually £45, and they were from eBay as well. So all in all the stuff that was needed for the MOT, which I did myself, was £290. That's everything added together, all the parts, and then obviously just my time. Now, time is important to some people. Some people really need their car for their jobs to get backwards and forwards. We weren't so desperate because we had the Astra as a backup car, and that was kind of used by both of us, so it wasn't really a big problem. It took a week. In total, in time, it took a week to get the car through the MOT. We took it last Monday, like I said. For the first MOT, it failed, and it's actually taken a week from that point to get it through, because I've been taking it, picking it up, doing the work myself, taking it, yada yada yada. You get the gist. It's taken about a week, so some people can't wait that long. That's not a problem whatsoever. Now, this is the garage's prices. These weren't all quotes from the garage, however I've done a bit of research, and these are sort of like estimates as to what a garage would charge you. So the MOT was £30, that was the same. Again, brake pipe £80, that was the same because the garage were the actual ones that did it. These are where the prices seem to go up. Now, for two brand new rear calipers fitted by a garage, you're looking to pay about £300. Now, it's going to vary between what garage you go to, but on average,
about £300 for 2 brand new calipers fitted to your car. Now, as well as the calipers, obviously we had to have the pads and discs done. They might not have been a necessity and you might not have needed to get them done. For the state that they were in, a garage is probably going to tell you you need them. So we're looking at about £150 for pads and discs fitted to the rear. So altogether, for calipers, discs and pads, an average cost is about £450 for that whole lot done. Like I say, prices may vary. That might be a lot less than that, it might be a lot more than that, but it's around that figure. Other than that, the handbrake cable, I actually got quoted £100 at SwiftFit to get that done, but he just didn't have the time to do it, so I obviously brought it home and did it myself. So that's another £60 saved on that one. And then the brake fluid was a £5. I don't know if they're going to charge you for that, but that's on there as well. So about £665 added up together, and that's about what we should have paid if the garage would have done all the work for us. So we had a saving of about £375 by doing the work ourselves. Now granted, it probably would have taken them a day or two to get the work done, and it ended up taking me a week. I didn't actually take a week to do the work, but we had the weekend in the middle of that, so the garage wasn't open for those 2 days. So it technically was like 5 days of work for me, but obviously it didn't take me those 5 days to do the work. I'm kind of messing up the words a little bit here, but 5 days from when I first took it to when it's passed, that's how long it took. So it wasn't too bad, but for the money, £375 is a lot of money to a lot of people. It's a lot of money to us as well, so to save that in the pocket, and on top of all of that, I managed to make content for you guys, which is very important because I run a YouTube channel. I managed to get 2 videos out of it. I've done the first brake video and now this one. So I've managed to get content out of it. That in turn is going to earn me money and is going to earn me some money back on the parts that I spent getting this Mini through the MOT. So, with all that said, that is the Mini with an MOT. The only thing on the MOT now is one advisory for a slight oil leak on the front of the engine, but I'll get that sorted at some point. I'll look into it and I'll get that sorted. So hopefully next time I'll go through with a clean sheet. So I think with that being said, I'm going to end this video now. I think that's enough talking from me today. I waffle on like crazy. I hope you guys understand that I kind of wanted to explain everything and especially give you the figures. I think it's good to see the figures. That is them right there. You can kind of see them for yourself. Mini is back on the road for at least another year. It's got all refreshed brakes on the back, it's got calipers, it's got discs, it's got pads, it's got handbrake cables. There should be no problems with the rear of that car now. And so with that, I'm going to end this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed me filming the sort of MOT process, especially when things go wrong, let me know down below. But for now, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for future content. The Mondeo wheels, I should be getting them back this week as well. They should be fully refurbed in silver with tyres on, and they'll be going back on the Mondeo, so look forward to that one as well. I will see you guys in the next one.